Have you ever had one of those mornings where everything feels just a little bit off? You wake up, the sun is shining, the birds are chirping, but there's a strange stillness in the air. That was my morning, last Tuesday. Primera mother coffee, grabbed the local paper from the porch like I do every single day, and settled into my favorite armchair. I flipped past the headlines, the sports section, and then I saw it. A picture of me, smiling, from a family barbecue 3 years ago. And a headline that made my heart stop. Beloved community member, your name passes away at your age. My first thought, this has to be a joke, a really elaborate prank. I checked the date on the paper, it was today's. I checked the name again, it was mine. The photo was definitely me. I read the first line, it is with great sadness that the family of your name announces their peaceful passing. ... Double quotes. My hand started shaking so hard the newspaper rattled. I was sitting right here, in my living room, reading my own obituary. The coffee in my mug was still hot. My dog, Buddy, was snoring at my feet. How could this happen? The obituary was surprisingly detailed. It mentioned my high school, my passion for gardening, and my unforgettable laugh. It even quoted my sister, Sarah, saying, "They were the light of our lives and will be deeply missed." I immediately grabbed my phone and called her. My heart was pounding in my ears. It rang once, twice, and then went to voicemail. "Hi, you've reached Sarah. I'm a little busy right now, but leave a message." Busy? Busy planning my funeral. My mind was racing. Was this a mistake? A cruel joke? Or something far stranger? I tried calling my best friend, Mark. Straight to voicemail. My parents' voicemail. It felt like I was screaming into a void. I looked out the window. My neighbor, Mrs. Gable, was getting her mail. I ran outside, barefoot, still in my pajamas. "Mrs. Gable," Primera shouted. She turned, her face pale, her eyes wide with shock. She just stared at me for a moment, then let out a small shriek and hurried back inside, fumbling with her keys. It was then that a horrifying thought crept into my mind. What if I am dead? What if I'm a ghost, and I just don't know it yet? I ran back inside, my breath catching in my throat. I had to prove to myself that I was real. I touched the wall, it was solid. I pinched my arm, it hurt, and I looked in the mirror. My reflection stared back, pale and terrified, but definitely there. Okay, not a ghost. That was a relief, but it only deepened the mystery. Why did everyone think I was dead, and why couldn't I reach anyone? The obituary mentioned a memorial service to be held on Saturday. Today was Tuesday. I had 4 days to figure this out before my friends and family gathered to mourn me. My first stop was the newspaper office. I threw on some clothes, trying to look as alive as possible, and drove downtown. I walked up to the front desk, my heart thudding. "Hi?" I said, my voice trembling slightly. "I need to speak to someone in the obituaries department. There's been a mistake." The receptionist looked up, and her friendly smile vanished. She looked from my face to a copy of the morning paper on her desk, then back to my face. She whispered into her phone, and a moment later, a man in a rumpled suit came out. He introduced himself as the editor. He looked at me like he'd seen a ghost, which, I suppose, was fair. He led me into his office and closed the door. "There's been a terrible error," he stammered, wringing his hands. "We received the information from a source we believe to be reliable." He explained that they got an email, seemingly from my sister's account, with all the details and the photograph. They had a backlog and, in a rush to meet the print deadline, didn't follow the full verification protocol. They called a number provided in the email, and a woman who sounded distraught confirmed everything. He was profusely apologetic, promising a front-page retraction tomorrow. A retraction was great, but it didn't explain the core of the problem. Who sent the email, and why? As I left the newspaper office, my phone finally buzzed. It was Sarah. I answered immediately. "Where have you been?" "Do you know what's happening?" I yelled, a mix of relief and anger in my voice. "Oh my God," she cried. "I'm so sorry. My phone DA'd and I just saw all your calls. Mark just called me. He saw the paper. We're on our way over. We thought it was some sick prank. We've been trying to get it taken down all morning." Her voice was frantic, and I could hear the genuine panic. So, it wasn't her. That was a huge relief. But it meant someone had not only pretended I was dead, but they had also impersonated my sister to do it. The situation just got a whole lot creepier. When Sarah and Mark arrived, the reunion was emotional. Hugs, tears, and a lot of, "I can't believe this is happening." We sat down and tried to piece it together. Who would do something so bizarre and cruel? We went through a list of potential suspects. An old ex, a disgruntled former colleague. Nothing seemed to fit. This wasn't just a prank. It was meticulously planned. They had my photo, my sister's contact information, and they were convincing enough to fool a newspaper. We decided to go to the police. This had crossed the line from a weird mistake into harassment, or something worse. At the police station, the officer on duty looked at us with a mixture of pity and disbelief. He'd seen a lot, but a living obituary case was a first for him. He took our statements, filed a report for identity theft and harassment, and promised to look into the email's origin. But he warned us that tracing the spoofed email could be difficult, if not impossible. We left feeling a little helpless, the mystery still hanging over us. As we walked out, I had a strange realization. Reading my own obituary, as terrifying as it was, gave me a weirdly clear perspective. It talked about my kindness and love of adventure. It made me think, was I living up to that description? Was I truly being the person my loved ones saw me as? The next day, the retraction was on the front page. Newspaper erroneously reports local resident's demise. My phone blew up with calls and texts from friends, family, and even old acquaintances, all expressing their shock and relief. It was overwhelming, but also incredibly heartwarming. I spent the day talking to people I hadn't spoken to in years. In a bizarre way, my fake death had reconnected me with so many people. That evening, my family and closest friends came over. We didn't have a memorial. We had a celebration of life, my life, which I was suddenly more grateful for than ever before. We never found out for sure who sent that email. The police investigation hit a dead end. But in the end, it didn't matter. The experience, as traumatic as it was, changed me. It reminded me that life is precious and unpredictable. It forced me to look at my own life and the relationships in it. So, what did I learn from reading my own obituary? Don't wait. Call your friends. Tell your family you love them. Go on that adventure. Live the life you'd want to read about. And maybe, just maybe, check the obituaries every morning. You never know who you might find. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories. See you next time.